Welcome to Stretch and Release. So what we'll do today is we'll be stretching those muscles, warming them up, but we'll also be releasing. And what that really means is that we'll be working on the myofascia, which are some like tendons, and a fascia that's around the muscle. So if you're not really sure what that is, you can always message me. You can look it up on Google, but I don't want to spend a bunch of time on that. But we're going to start standing. What I want to do is just sort of warm up through the ankles and feet. And while we're talking, just go ahead and roll your ankle around. With the ball, good morning. Those of you just joining in, you'll need a ball today, not too big, just a tennis ball or something. Go the other direction. With the ball today, I want you to remember we don't roll back and forth. Everything is very isolated, very controlled. Let's switch sides and just warm up those ankles. And think of your body as one big string, right? And if we had a string and we were to take and pull out some of that string, right? Our string would kind of fall. So everything is aligned together to keep us straight. And so what we want to do is straighten that string so that our body is in the alignment that it's meant to be in. So what we're going to do is start with our feet today. So before we do anything, since this is our first Stretch and Release online today, is I want you just to stand here and take a little breath, and I want you to press your feet into the mat. And what I'd like for you to do is kind of concentrate on where the weight is on your feet, and you're welcome to close your eyes and really just feel your body as that string. But imagine the weight on your foot and kind of feel where that weight is on your foot. And again, you can close your eyes, but is there more weight on the outside of your foot or the inside of your foot? Maybe on your heels. Maybe you gotta actually press your toes into the ground to actually get them touch. Some people's feet, their toes actually don't even rest on the ground when you're relaxed. And all of that has to do with the alignment that goes into your ankles, your knees, your hips, your back, your shoulders, and your neck. So if our feet are out of whack, so is the rest of our body. So take a slow, deep breath. Use that assessment. We're gonna come back to that. Do you feel heavy on those feet? Grab your ball. And we're gonna work with that ball. And we're not gonna spend a ton of time on this, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna step on our ball and we're gonna press into it. And what I'd like for you to do is just roll that ball, only heavy, going towards your heel. So I'm going heavy from toe to heel, and I'm just moving that ball. And imagine this is my hand, and we'll do the same when we get to our hands, is that you're rolling that ball between each bone along your foot. And I want you to feel if there's like lumps or anything. And those are the areas, and I call them spots, that we're gonna really work on today. And everybody's gonna be different, okay? The pressure is up to you. How hard do you go? You wanna feel it. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop and place that foot right on the top of that ball, as if you're hanging those toes over, and take a breath and just press down. Now, you may be in one of those spots. If you're not, I want you to shift either forward or back just enough where you feel that spot, all right? And you might even feel like a sensation of heat through your body. Sometimes if it's really tender, you might even feel it like in your belly. So I want you to breathe. If it's painful, everything we do, if it's painful, please stop. So take a breath and just press. Now we're not rolling back and forth, so if you really feel like you need to roll back and forth, just sort of fight the urge. All right, so from here, we're gonna gently just move that foot just a tiny, tiny bit forward, our foot forward so the ball rolls back towards our heel. Now we're not quite at the heel yet, but what we're doing is lengthening that fascia. We're pulling it away to stretch it out. So any of you guys with plantar fasciitis, this is your game right here. It's not gonna feel good, but what it's gonna do is break it down, all that fascia that's almost like a scar tissue. So it's not really scar tissue, but that's what I kind of like in my head is the easiest way to imagine it for you guys. So we're gonna press again. Now roll again forward. So we're working it all the way out. All right, so we're almost at that heel. If you're on the heel, we're gonna roll off the heel. We don't need to be on the heel. Take a breath. Now go ahead and roll your foot on the heel, but then roll directly off of it. So if this was your heel, we're gonna roll right in, being that arch of your foot and that kind of little press. Now take your toe and lean forward. Now just enough. So what I want you to imagine is taking that foot and extending it forward, but keeping your heel on the ball. So think of your heel as it's extending back. All right, so we're trying to stretch out that foot. I promise you, it's gonna be the weirdest thing for you if this is your first time, how amazing you will feel just by doing this. Now this is something you could do every single day. Go ahead and shake it out. Now when we roll back and forth, I call this flush. So you just kind of flush it out. It's very light, you're not going heavy. You can go in little circles, and we're not gonna spend a ton of time, and your ball might go rolling. But before we do the other side, take a breath, and we didn't spend a ton of time on that because I do wanna make sure we get to everything, but you can always go back. Take a breath, and the leg you just worked, notice how that foot is flatter. It's more sturdy, but it feels light on your mat, or maybe on the carpet, or wherever you're at. And notice how that string we were talking about is a lot straighter all the way up this side. Whereas the side you didn't work, maybe it's still out of line, maybe that foot's kind of angled in or out depending on your weight distribution. So already, mass improvements. So let's do the other side. I'm gonna turn this way. So same thing, we wanna start by pressing and rolling. And what we're doing is pressure only towards our heart. So pretty much everything that we do, we wanna roll with the muscle, but we wanna go towards the heart, creating blood and circulation up to the heart, getting fresh blood into those muscles. So a lot of times our blood is stagnant, and that's really what that is. It's like, if any of you guys have had injuries, right? And after a while you're like, I don't understand, I'm not healing anymore, I'm stuck at this spot. Well, a lot of times your body's like, I'm done, I don't wanna heal anymore, it's done. So what happens is that blood in that area isn't always rejuvenating. So that's why we bruise, right? More blood to that area to create healing. Go ahead and release the foot. Now we're just going right in the middle. And we're gonna press down. Now you might notice one foot hurt a lot more than the other. Totally normal. This side hurts even more than my injured foot because I compensate. I use more of my weight. I'm using this side so much more now because of my injury. So take a breath. And then roll it in. So as I was saying with the blood circulation, what happens is that blood gets kind of stagnant, and what we want to do is release those toxins, release all that old blood, right? And then create new blood circulation into that area so we can create more healing. So this is actually what we are doing here, along with so many other things. Go ahead and roll towards the heel. We're still working. And we're just pressing down. If it's too much, lighten your weight, that's all. You can go as heavy as you want or as light as you want. That's totally up to you. And if you have questions about this, because it might be new to you, please feel free to message me. All right, so let's go to the heel. Roll off the heel. Remember, we're right where that heel and that arch meet, and we're gonna lean forward and press your toes in there. Notice we've stretched out the bottom of the foot, pulling the heel back and the toes forward. Take a breath. Slow, deep breath. Maybe as that tension releases a little bit, that maybe higher sensation, you can press a little bit more. All right, let's flush it out. So lightly rolling. So whenever we're rolling, it's very light. You're just kind of finding it. All right, shake it out. Ah, feel those feet. It's like feathers. Big inhale, reach up nice and tall. Exhale, just shake everything out. We're gonna do the same thing with our hands to create a length through our shoulders and neck, and we'll get to that in just a second. But let's just slowly, and I want you to be mindful of what your body's feeling right now, because all of this is going to feel so much different when we're done in about 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, but hang in there. I promise you this is the best thing you can do right now. Let's just hold it over to one side, and I want you to lengthen from the ear to the shoulder here. So any of that stress, any of that tension, anxiety, anything that you're feeling, I want you just to let it go. And then gently over to the other side, releasing those tension out of the fingertips. Draw your shoulders down, lengthen from the ear to the shoulder. You might even feel how light your feet are, and your knees, your hips, everything feels like that string is long and straight. Head comes up. Roll the shoulders back. Let's squeeze the shoulder blades. Now really squeeze the shoulder blades and then drop down. So open and creating that circulation as we press our shoulder blades together and then forward as if we're pushing our heart forward. Take a breath, shake it all out. Excellent. Before we take it down, so we're gonna get into those hips and low back, exhale and just give me a little forward fold, but I want you to bend your knees and just soften down. So I'm gonna turn this way so you can kind of see that the knees are bent and we're relaxing. What we're doing is releasing the tension through that lower back and let that gravity lengthen your spine. So hang the arm. So this is like our ragdoll, right? The stretch isn't really through the hamstrings, it's more through that lower back, which is where we're gonna end up working. Take a breath, wiggle your head if you'd like, just real slow. Get some blood into that head now. And then ragdoll your body back up. You can use those hands if you need to. Shoulders come up last and roll your shoulders out. Excellent. One more standing. Most of our stuff is going to be laying down. We're going to open up those feet and just bend your knees. Now, first one, we're going to stick our tush back, drop down, and then open the knees. Now, if you notice your knees are over your toes, your baby toe, I want you to open those feet wider. So toes and knees are always in line to protect those knees. Lift up halfway, take one shoulder over to the opposite knee, and just let it sink. So opening up through that low back. Now, if you need some time, start a little higher. Only twist as far as you're comfortable. And then look up to the sky. So now we're stretching through the inner thigh, low back, hips. It's a great stretch. Slowly take your time through the center. Stop in the middle, drop down, neutralize that back, and then over to the other side. Dropping that shoulder. So you're also pressing that knee off to the side a little bit if you feel like you can do so. Look up to the sky if your neck allows you to do that. And then back to center. Round and ragdoll yourself back to a standing position. Roll your shoulders back. Shake everything out today. Let everything go. Yes. All right, let's take it down onto the ground. So before we do our hands, I want you to do one more assessment. Sit however you're comfortable. You can sit whatever feels good to you, but I want you to make sure you're not rounding the back. So it's real important that we sit up tall. If you want to sit on a blanket, that kind of releases some tension in your hips as well. So I'll just show you, we're kind of on the edge, all right? So not really here, because then you'll still have that same rounded back, right at the edge, and then sit wherever you're comfortable. So I'm gonna sit just like this so you can see where I'm sitting. And what I'd like for you to do is just drop the arms and then think of that string again. And just let your arms hang to the side and your chin open, forehead to the sky, not up here, but just kind of opening the crown of your head. And then as you take a breath, I want you to assess your upper body. Are you feeling tight through the shoulders? Maybe your elbows, your wrists, or maybe you woke up and you have a little migraine, or maybe just tension between your eyebrows, or your ears, or maybe your jaw. So I want you to pay attention to those things. And then take one more deep breath. Get a nice big flow of fresh oxygen in there. And as you exhale, shake it out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our ball. You can sit any way you choose. With this ball, we're gonna roll, and I'm gonna go this way because I need a little harder surface. It'll work on here, but it's squishing into my carpet. So from here, you can sit however you like, okay? Whatever works. So, but what I'd like for you to do is use a little bit of body weight. So that's why I like to be up here. So we're gonna put one hand, and we're gonna treat our hand pretty much like we did our feet. We're gonna roll from fingers to the heel of your palm here, and we're gonna roll. But I want you to roll all the way past the heel of your palm. And now notice that when you're doing that, and we're just rolling back and forth, notice those areas. They'll mostly be through the heel of the palm, or even right here, which is still considered the heel of your palm right here, is where it's gonna be more tender. And we're just doing that for a second. Now keep in mind, hands have a lot of reflexology, so do feet, but hands are even more tender, and you'll notice them a little bit more. So there's a ton of areas that trigger into your organs. And we can go into that another day, but, or you can message me and say like, where I have this one spot, or you can even look it up on Pinterest. You can look up reflexology and you're like, wait, it really hurts right here, why? And generally what that does is relate to somewhere else in your body. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start right at the pinky and work our way slowly. Now, if you find a spot that's tender, you're gonna stop. So I'm noticing right in the corner here, right, is really tender. So I'm gonna stop right there. Now, if you're not feeling anything, keep working your way. A lot of people are very, very tender right in the middle here, and that's right through your belly. So right through here is your digestive system. And so if you're having issues, or maybe it's the morning and you know, haven't done your morning thing, you might be a little more tender there. And then as you move along, those of you with any type of neck, shoulder, head, you're gonna be more tender in this area right here. And if you're like, whoa, that's so true, oh my goodness, message me and let me know. So we've been doing this for a long time. It's kind of amazing how it really works. Now, when you're doing this, make sure that you're not pushing your shoulders, because we don't want tension in our shoulders. So still bend the elbows and let the weight come into your hand. And we're not going to spend a ton more time on this. So what I want you to do is flush it out and then stretch it out. So if you're having any sinus issues, maybe do it later, but you can squeeze your fingers. And I would hold it a lot longer, but you can squeeze the tips of your fingers. That helps with your sinuses, all right in this little area right here. So let's do the other hand. You can spin. Remember, we're rolling just in between each bone in the hand just to find those areas and create that circulation and length. And we always roll towards the heart. And then let's go ahead and work our way. So when we get to the back, the hips, you guys are gonna float the rest of the day. So when you find that spot, just stop. And you'll probably notice that you'll have that same tender area on the other hand, because they're very similar in reflexology. There's a few little areas depending on the right and the left hand, but generally they're about the same. So just hold it, breathe. If you can exhale. So as we exhale out for that moment, you almost notice during that moment of breath, there's nothing, like you don't feel the pain, you don't feel that tension or stress, everything just sort of goes away in that moment. So that's why we talk about our breath a lot, because it really helps mentally and physically. Awesome job. We'll spend another couple seconds here, but again, this is something you could do every day. You could do at your desk. You can do, watching TV, whatever it is, just maybe 2 or 3 minutes a day, and then flush it out, and then stretch it out, whatever you need to, roll your wrist. All right, let's just sit for a moment. You can sit however you're comfortable again. Just place your ball right out to the side, roll your shoulders just a second, shake everything out. Notice that string up from your belly button up to the sky. Feel how light and feathery your fingertips are. You can feel almost that tingly blood sensation. If it's a tingly like a nerve, not good. You shouldn't have that in your hands. But if you do, hopefully you stopped using your ball at the time. So just right here, and kind of feel how light. And then notice how almost your shoulders have relaxed away from your ears. And any of you that had tension in through your forehead kind of went away, right? Sort of amazing. All right, we will be doing more of this later, but let's go into our back and hips. Number one, that nerve thing I was talking to you about, if anything starts tingling down your legs or any type of tingling sensation, get off your ball, okay? So we wanna make sure that we're not putting the ball right along our spine. So today we're gonna work, here's your spine, we're gonna work just off your spine but low. So I call this my shelf. But what we're gonna do is take that ball from the spine, not pushing on it, and we are going to roll it just slightly onto that shelf, okay? And the shelf is like, is that my lower back or is that considered my booty? That's your shelf, okay? So what we're gonna do, and I know it's gonna be hard for you to see the ball, but that ball is not on my spine ever, and we're gonna just go ahead right beside it and lean on it. Now I have a lacrosse ball, so I'm not gonna be able to put a ton of weight on it. I'm leaning also on my other hip, because if I lean right onto it, I can't even bear it. So I wanna be able to feel it, but I don't want so much pain that I can't breathe. All right, so we're gonna lay here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna roll the ball just about 5 inches from our shelf, I'm gonna turn this way, shelf, to about halfway mid-back. There's almost like you can feel the muscle right in the middle of your back here, and we're gonna roll right to that. All right, so we're gonna do one side. Now here's the thing, remember we're not rolling back and forth. What we're doing is inching our way. All right, so from here, and you'll just sort of inch and move. Take a breath. I want you to wait a moment to let it release. And then inch yourself again. Now if you're feeling this on your spine, move off of it and you'll feel that muscle along that side of your back. And then inch it again. Now you could inch it at your own pace, but I want you to wait till that sensation kind of goes away before you move again. And then inch it again. I'm right about there. Now everyone's backs are different lengths, so this does take everybody a little bit different time. Now right where I'm at right now is kind of where my rib cage starts, and that's where I'm gonna stop. So that's another kind of indication that we're done. There's nothing wrong with rolling on there, but we're working on the low back today, and I want to make sure that we're focusing on the right spots for a second. So now go ahead and release the ball off your back, and we're gonna do the other side before we stretch. So I'm gonna just turn the other way, but you just stay right where you're at. So we're gonna take the ball right on the shelf, just on the other side, and release. So this exercise is great for lengthening that back. We have a tendency to get real tight through the hip flexors and low back. And with that, what this is lengthening all that fascia surrounding those muscles. And we're gonna slowly creep. Take your time. We're inching. It's not even an inch, maybe like a centimeter, barely moving. Take your breath. And you can experiment. Maybe you want to put a little bit more weight on it. Keep inching forward. Excellent job. Keep inching. We're almost there. And inch again. Oh, so I'm almost at that rib cage here. So I'm going to stop in this position and I'm going to wait a moment. And then before we work through the hip area, we're going to stretch out that low back. You guys should feel amazing already. And slowly move that ball just off to the side for me for a moment. And then staying on our backs, let's hug those knees into the chest. And if you can hug those knees as tight as you can open up your knees so they're on your rib cage if you'd like. Or if you're still working on that digestive system, you can go ahead and place them on your belly. Now, you can even work that digestive system by pushing your rib cage. So if your thighs are on your rib cage and then squeezing your rib cage in as well, that's a great way to kind of wring out those organs a little bit, or more like squeeze them out. And then extend your right leg. Keep your left leg in. Now the right leg can be bent or straight. So if you need to work on that hip flexor a little bit, counterbalance the low back, you can. Whatever feels good to you, and just hug. Bend that right knee again. Left leg stays bent, arms out to a T, and just gently take that left knee off to your right. So we're creating a little twist here. If your shoulder doesn't touch, that's fine. You're welcome to look over your shoulder. So now we're stretching all along that back and through the hips, which is where we're gonna go next. So we have just enough time. Go ahead and release it. Switching sides. And again, please feel free to message me on this if you've never used the ball before or any type of myofascial work. Please message me if you have questions, you're not sure. It's a lot harder to know, where that ball is. So go ahead and twist it. Get that whole low back, just let it go. Feel free to look over your shoulder. And then slowly back to center, rolling those knees in, just rock it from side to side. All right, so I'm gonna sit up. You're welcome to stay laying down, but I'm gonna sit up to show you where we're going next. So we're talking about the shelf, right? The shelf. Is that my booty? Is that my back? I'm not really sure. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the ball and we're gonna place it back on our shelf. Now, kind of the top of the shelf. So we're not gonna go right on it, all right? We're gonna go right on the shelf. So from there, not on your spine, off your spine, we're gonna work our way out this way. So from here, not your spine, just outside of it, and then work your way this way. And we're gonna stop right at that hip bone here today. And then we'll do the other side. Stop, roll. Now remember, we're not rolling back and forth, you're gonna inch. So I'm gonna go on my ball here, place it just on my shelf or just above my shelf, right? Like I'm placing something on it. And then drop. Now you're gonna slowly work your way this way. Now I'm gonna give you a little tip here. From here, if you open up your knee a little bit, after you place the ball in, you'll notice that ball almost melt up into that muscle. And then you can release and move and then drop that hip again. You could keep the hip open, but I feel like if you lift it back up and then gently move it and a tiny, tiny bit and then drop that hip, that ball is able to dig into it a little bit deeper and you have that sensation of really opening up through the hip. And then same thing, you just kind of creep up and then open. And the open hip is optional, but experiment, see how it feels. Now, if you're feeling any sensation again, all the way down your legs, you might be too low. So we don't want the ball right on that piriformis. There's a sciatic nerve that runs through that. And so 2 sides of the piriformis is fine, but there's one little spot where that sciatic nerve runs through. All right? So make sure that if you're feeling any type of tingly sensation, to get off your ball. And I have one more. So I'm gonna release it, I'm gonna go up to the side, and we're gonna use the ball for both sides, and then we'll finish off with our last stretch. And release it. Good, that's up to you. If you wanna hug the knees in, loosen everything up, and I'm gonna switch sides. I'm gonna flip over just so you guys can see better, but you're welcome just to stay laid down. Take this time. You guys deserve it. So, off the spine, right off of it, just on top of that shelf, drop my foot down. I want you to imagine taking that ball and extending it. Even though you're not moving, you're almost like you're extending that muscle away from that low back. And then open up the hip if you'd like. Remember, breathe, breathe, breathe. You're gonna notice that, oh, this side hurts. You're gonna notice one side more than the other. Now this is my injured leg. So my foot was more tender on my good side because I put a lot of weight on it. But because I compensate so much from a broken ankle recently, both sides are completely off, right? So this is extremely important. If you've ever had any injuries and you notice kind of that compensation, because what we need to do is really take care of those areas before we injure anything else. So we're creeping slowly off to the side, and you lift and then roll, working our way towards that hip bone. Maybe you have one more. So everyone's gonna be different. Again, the length of your body is different. So the time you spend on each body part might be longer, or maybe you need more time in one spot. So when you go back to this class, you can pause it. You're not sure what to do, so you're like, I'm gonna watch it, but I'm gonna pause. So pause and then come back. So when you come back to this workout, this one will be on our online membership. So it won't be on YouTube. It'll only be on our online membership today, but you guys have the luxury of doing it live with us today, so you can always click the 3 dots up top and actually still save it on the live, okay? But it won't be on YouTube. Go ahead and shake it out. Release it off the ball. So we're done with our ball today. Just kind of rock from side to side. And then last stretch, go ahead and drop your feet, extend here. So now we're gonna stretch through those hips. Inhale, exhale, release, and we're gonna figure 4. So take one foot flat on the mat and one foot in your figure 4. Open up the hips and then just draw those knees into the chest. Now go ahead and take your hand and just thread it through and pull. Now for those of you that have a hard time doing this with your knees, you're welcome to sit up, or maybe you don't like sitting or laying down that long. Anyone with any type of like vertigo or you can always sit up, okay? But I know you've already been laying down for quite a while. There's really no other way. So I guess you can do it against a wall, but I think the ball would keep falling. Excuse me. So let's draw that knee slightly off. So now we're stretching through that hip, piriformis, and glute. Low back, breathe. Exhale, release. Extend that leg straight up just for a moment. Pull it in. Very gently, lengthening through the hamstring, back of the knee, and extend that leg straight out. Exhale, bend that knee. Other leg comes into a figure four. Open the hip first. Flex that foot. Bring it into the chest. Draw that knee slightly off to the side. Keep those hips square to the sky. Really focusing on those hips. We've released everything today. A little bit further in if you feel like that tension is going away. And then drop the foot down. Extend that leg straight up for a little hamstring. Just opening the back of the knee and hamstring here. And if you enjoyed this, please let me know. Go ahead and release it. Excellent. Extend both legs out. Arms up. Big stretch over your head. Really lengthen from fingertip to toes. Exhale. Now if you'd like to just stay here in a little savasana, you're welcome to. Feel that blood flow through your body. Your entire body is floating on your mat. And you're welcome to stay here. And just taking a slow, deep breath, I'm just going to roll and sit up, but you guys feel free to stay down, or if you'd like to sit up with me, you are welcome to do so. So if you have any questions about the ball or any type of release, but you can look it up online as well, like what is myofascia, something like that. There's tons of stuff, but be careful what you're reading, because there's a lot of stuff about rolling and about like breaking up tissue and stuff that is sort of false. So please feel free to message me about it. I've been studying this for a long time. So anyway, I hope you really enjoyed it. And I hope you have a great day today. Thank you for joining me. We will do this style again if you guys like it. And we are launching on Monday our online membership. So we'll still be doing live classes here too. And putting stuff on YouTube, but not quite as many. So please message me. I will put a link below about the membership. So anyway, the light in me honors the light in you. The badass in me honors the badass in you. You guys are awesome. Keep telling yourself you are awesome. Namaste.